So what have you decided perfectionism will give you that it doesn't, that causes you to be in a constant state of judgment of you and everything you create? Hello, beautiful people. It is me again, Mr. Rogers. Won't you be my neighbor? Welcome to this installment of the Tour of Consciousness. See? Told you last time I might do one sooner than a month or 2 or 6 or whatever it's been. Today I want to talk about perfectionism. That's your tool for today. Be perfect and everything will work. That's so good. It's funny because it's not true. That's why it's funny. So what happens is, I don't know about you, but I have tended to be a bit of a perfectionist my whole life. In other words, thinking that if I could get things perfect, then they wouldn't be judged. Maybe I wouldn't be made wrong. Maybe I could make things work. But the whole idea of perfection requires judgment. Perfection is sort of like the highest form of judgment there is. So maybe this whole idea of being a perfectionist isn't working out for us as well as we thought. Let me give you an example. The Tour of Consciousness. That was the second filming of the Tour of Consciousness. And I sent it to my amazing group of creators. By the way, I'm squinting again because it's very bright out here. Ooh, and so beautiful. Here, I'll show you. Oh my goodness, it's gorgeous. I mean, I can show you over here too. Like 360 degrees of gorgeous. Hello. So anyway, I sent it to them and I'm like, guys, I feel like the very first one I made before the one you saw, I was like, I just couldn't get my words together. I don't know what it was. Like I haven't talked for so long. And then the one that the last Tour of Consciousness that you saw, I was like, I don't think I quite had the energy that I really wanted to convey. And my amazing group of creators was like, dude, perfectionist much? And I was like, yeah. So let's try a couple of things, okay? So what have you decided perfectionism will give you that it doesn't, that you have to continuously seek? I'm trying to get in the shade. Do you notice there's no perfect shade? Everything that is, times a godzillion, right? Wrong about all 100, Pod Poc Shorts, Boys, Povads, Bases, Creations. I mean, look, I found almost perfect shade. So what have you decided perfectionism will give you that it doesn't, that causes you to be in a constant state of judgment of you and everything you create? Everything that is, times a godzillion, we destroy and create it all, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, Pod and Poc, all 100, Shorts, Boys, Povads, Bases, Creations, and beyond. Excuse me. So it's kind of an interesting thing because one of the things I've noticed is perfectionism keeps us from the gift of us being able to show up and explore all kinds of different ways of being. So, for example, let's say you're in a business meeting, or maybe you're having a talk with somebody that you care about, and you're trying to get it right, you're trying to get it perfect, trying not to miss any steps. What that does, it puts you in this little mental box that you're judging everything that comes out, everything that comes in according to that, rather than, and what this keeps us from, is showing up and creating miracles. What? Well, let me give you another example. As a facilitator of Access Consciousness, we have all kinds of tools, all kinds of things that we can share. And it's just so wonderful. And what I did at the beginning, and I see this with a lot of people who are new at something, is I took all this stuff and created a way that it was supposed to be. I don't even think it was supposed to be that way, but in my mind, I've done this my whole life, so let's just keep going. I created a way it was supposed to be. And then as I was facilitating, and as people were asking questions and we were going through the class, I would try to match what I thought it was supposed to be. And oftentimes what would happen is there'd be really cool stuff that would show up, but afterwards I would be in this weird sort of vague sense of judgment that I couldn't sort of figure out what it was. It was just sort of like, eh. Because each step along the way, there was like, oh, I didn't do that perfectly. Oh, I didn't do that perfectly. I didn't do that perfectly. Dude. And in looking at this, guess how I changed it? I used access consciousness tools. What did I do? I was like, I asked myself some questions like, what am I hoping to create with perfection? Pock and pod, destroy and create pock and pod. What have I decided perfection will give me that it actually doesn't? Pock and pod. Another question I asked is, how old am I being when I'm doing it this way? And I realized it was something I learned as a strategy when I was a little kid. This is a great question, by the way. How old am I being? And I was like, oh my God, 5 years old. And what I remembered was going to school the first time. And it was weird because, my parents were separated, whatever, and I was going to school in this little horrendous school in the ghetto. And I was sitting there and there were kids crying and all this sort of stuff. It was their first day of school. And I was just sitting there being like, oh my goodness, I don't want to be somebody who rocks the boat. And I'm going to try to do everything perfectly from this point. So basically, I would show up in class and this thing of being 5 years old and trying to be perfect, whatever structure I created at 5 would activate. So another great question that might help you is, how old am I being? And walk yourself back to that age and just go, what happened? And you recognize that this is a whole other area that we could go into, which I guess I'm going into. But you recognize that the structure that you developed at 5 years old, or the points of view that you took on at 5 years old, let's say you're 25 or 45 right now, like you're having a 5-year-old handle that area of your life. Whoa. What if you didn't have to anymore? And I notice it in these areas where we tend to judge ourselves the most, in the areas where we're trying to achieve perfection. It's where we had something that we think didn't work out because we weren't perfect enough. What if there were all kinds of other factors that went into that weren't about you not being perfect enough? A lot of us seekers, humanoids of the world, you guys have the point of view that, if something goes wrong in the universe, it's your fault. Of course, nobody will ever let you solve it, but it's your fault that it happened. And so you're always looking to try to be perfect enough so nothing wrong happens. But once again, looping back to the beginning of our conversation, puts you in a nonstop state of judgment of you. So if you notice this coming up, let's say you're going to do a presentation, or I don't know, you're going to deliver a session, or you're in a business meeting, or you're going to have sex, or you're going to talk to somebody that's a friend or a relationship about something, and you notice yourself going into this little contracted box of thinking and judgment, you might just take a moment, remember this conversation, and ask yourself, okay, if I didn't have to be perfect, what else would be possible? Just that. If I didn't have to be perfect, what else would be possible? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, bovets, bases, creations, and beyonds, or just pock and pod if you don't have to do it perfectly. See what I did there? You're welcome. Okay. That was probably not as funny as I thought it was, but that's okay. I'm used to being the only one laughing at my jokes. It's totally fine. I don't have to be perfect about that, okay? Yeah, no, it's totally fine. No, just kidding. And then you might ask, okay, how old am I being? And just get a sense, like, see the timeline of your life and just kind of go, oh, there. How old is that? Oh, there's something that happened at 7. Oh, there was a friend and there was a situation. Okay. And all you got to do is look at that situation. And a couple of things that you can do. One is everything I decided, all the fixed points of view I have in place as a result of it, destroy and create a pock and pod. That's one. The other one you can do is, let's see, there's that. Pock and pod, all the points of view, and then it might just disappear. But also you can look at the points of view that you took on, like what did I decide about everything here? And what does that, if I, with all the awareness I have now, were to communicate with that younger me, what does that younger me need to hear? And just imagine them in front of you, imparting the wisdom that you've gotten, and giving them permission to let go of this structure, because so much of the time we're holding on to all these things from the past. Okay, see my friends? Hey, hi. See, when you don't have to be perfect, you can include your friends in a tour of consciousness. And you may be starting to get the sense of being able to relax a bit more as this incessant need for perfection starts to be able to melt at least a little bit. We start to be able to just show up. And as I was talking about facilitating and trying to be perfect, it wasn't very much fun. And a lot of you know I wrote a book called Being You, Changing the World. And the whole idea of that is there's a gift in you being uniquely you in that moment. It's not about being perfect. It's about actually having a potency of being able to show up, warts and all, and not have to defend any of it, not have to prove any of it, and just getting to show up. And I noticed the more I would do that, the more I would show up to whatever class it was I was facilitating or whatever session, I was just like, hi, what's up? And another great question, what are the infinite possibilities here? Ask that for before anything. What are the infinite possibilities for this? You'll open up things you never imagined possible. But it's only possible if we don't have to be perfect, because what perfect does is it creates us believing there's something called perfection that is a structure of judgments and definitions. See, that's not perfect, is it? Yeah, you're welcome. A structure of judgments and definitions that whatever we're walking into or whatever we're about to do has to conform to perfectly in order to match the standard of perfection. Everything that is, and how many standards of perfection do you have? How many of those standards of perfection aren't even yours? And if you remember the last tour of consciousness, how much intertwining of cognitive dissonance do you have that is holding these standards of perfection in place that has nothing to do with the real you? Everything that is, times a gazillion, we destroy and create it all, please. Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 100 shorts, boys, poveds, bases, creations, and beyonds. Sorry, there's another longer video too. I hope it's contributing to you. Another thing I want to point out about the last video, I talked to you about Access Me, right? And I asked my team, I'm like, did that sound like a commercial? Like, is this too salesy? And you look at the humor of the last video. I don't usually refer to the last video, but since this one is so fresh in my mind, there you go. If I didn't have to be perfect, I could refer to the last video, but I was like, guys, did that sound like a commercial? Because I really want people to know this thing is there and it's so easy, it's so available, it's such a contribution. And so if it sounded like a commercial for Access Me, maybe it was, but maybe that's also not wrong. From the time I started the Tour of Consciousness, I did it because I wanted to contribute to people. And I noticed that when I would use these Access Consciousness tools, I could change almost anything if I would just use the tool and look from a different place and ask a question. And so that's why I started Tour of Consciousness. That's why I still do it to this day, is to contribute to you guys. So there was some part of my world where I was like, this I don't want to try to sell something. Well, I realize I do want to invite, though. I do want to let you know it's possible. And notice you can't see me anymore. Okay, I'll turn that way. But that also, I realized, was involved in this perfectionism thing, is trying to be perfect to some standard. And it's interesting because I don't have that much of that in my world anymore. Why? Because I've been doing the very things I talked to you about. I'm getting back in the shade. Dear Lord, is it hot out there? I've been doing the very things I talked to you, just gave you as tools. And so I don't have very much of that in my world. And so there's another really cool thing where when you start letting go of perfectionism, if it does show up again after that, it's very easy to notice, but it's also much easier to change. And so the more you use these Access Consciousness tools, the more change you will create, and the easier it'll be to spot when something is not totally congruent energetically. And what happens, rather than trying to function from perfection, you start to function from energetic congruence. Is this actually energetically congruent with what I know is possible? Is this energetically congruent with what I would like to create? And when you function from there, it's a whole different universe than trying to judge and mentally be perfect before you take each step or before you receive anything and then receive it and then respond to it. The other thing that it does, it takes you out of being reactive and allows you to start to be active. And when you are functioning from action, you become a force and a source in the world for something different. And that, if I could invite you to anything, that would be one of the things I would love you to know that you are when you're truly being you. So, beautiful you. Thank you very much for watching this rather long video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe, because since I don't do ads, that's the only way it's going to get out there. And share it with people. Comment also. That'd be awesome too. Say, Google, we want more people to have this. And what if you truly being you without the nonstop judgment and need to be perfect and the ability to relax into each situation are the gift, the change, and the possibility this world requires. All right, beautifuls. I look forward to seeing you next time. And I look forward to seeing you in person someday for a big kiss on your cheeks. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Okay, bye-bye for now.